Good evening and thank you once again for joining us on the Scoreboard. Now, it's a week, but it goes so quickly, doesn't it? Especially when you're in good company. Time, they say, really flies. But this is the program that takes you around the world in what has been going on in the world of sports. Inside, outside, the politics of it a little, just to let you know what's going on into the world of sports. And now we'll take the highlights of what we've lined up for you today. Now, the Safari Rally, what a spectacle. And Ogier was the man who won it. Wow, he's won it before here in Kenya. He won it again. But this thing over 1, 2, 3, 4, we knew it only in the Kenyan steeplechase. Now it was there in the Safari Rally as well. We'll tell you all about it and what happened in Vasha, as they called it, and the jams that were thereof, but then the celebration after that as well. Plus, it's Gor Mahia again, and Gor Biro was the chant that was, renting the air at Kasarani after Gor Mahia won the Kenyan Premier League on the very last day with the very last point and the very last whistle. The score line was almost the same, 4-0 and 4-1 between them and Tusker, and then just needing a win of any kind gets Gor Mahia the championship. We'll be talking about that as well, plus we have a special guest on that particular issue as well. And then again, we have to talk about a little bit of the prize money of the Kenyan Premier League winners and other winners as well, the Women's League winners as well. What's happening? You can't play for all this time and then not have anything to take home? Well, that's a story that we'll have to look at as well in our program tonight. I am Bernard Otieno. I'm in the company of very good people that I will introduce you in just one while as well. But we always want you to join us in our conversation as well. What's your word to Gor Mahia, who are the champions of the Kenyan Premier League? What's your word? At Bernard_Sport, at Kchege_Sport, and at Wilfred Bungay. That's where our Twitter handles are at. But then let me introduce you to the man as well. The cool kid is here.
Good evening.
How are you?
I am very well, and how are you?
I'm tempted to tell you what you said last week, but I'll let it pass and ask you, what worked for you during the week?
Yeah, and I can tell you, my Baba is now a Gor Mahia fan. But that notwithstanding, what I really enjoyed came from the Safari Rally, and is watching Kaltundo. You know, after all these years, he came third in the WRC2 series. All right. And I think that was a real good try, and I think that gives a lot of hope.
You're still the highest placed African anyway in the rally. Yes.
That gives a lot of hope to the younger generation.
Okay, so that's what
is now. Yeah,
that's what worked for you.
I'm really excited about that.
What didn't work for you? Did you have anything that didn't work for you?
No. I chose to be positive.
We move on.
Choose to be positive.
What worked for you, Wilfred?
Your last word was what didn't work. So
actually for me,
yes. Not even
you always start positive though.
I know, I'm always a positive person,
Okay.
but in this case, it's about what didn't work. And especially this is on the Safari Rally. If you see, most of the Kenyan, especially the local drivers, they were not happy with everything that was happening. And why do I say this, Bernard, that, when you really find these drivers complaining about lack of recognition for them, it reminds me...
The Kenyan drivers?
Yes, the Kenyan drivers, yes, exactly. There was complaining that,
they're not given recognition.
Yeah, recognition. It reminded me, Bernard, when I used to run, you would get this... let's say you are running in Italy, for example, or in Germany. There is a German athlete who is running from behind, and at the end of the day, they will always focus. And at the same time, they will be able to give prize money because they have tried whatever level it is. And this is what I think we should learn, Bernard.
You think that should be included as well? You see, the thing is, in the rally, there were like 3 different rallies that are running at the same time. There's the Kenya National Rally Championship event. There's also the main WRC rally as well. So you can't take part in both of them. And the focus is obviously on the bigger picture.
Well,
I think later, then they should be recognized in the country.
Yeah, they should be recognized because, look, these are people who are supposed to be inspiring the next generation. So if they are not able to be recognized, then at least it does affect.
I hear you. I have a couple of things that did not work for me. One of them is the fact that a man registered to run the Lewa Marathon and then gave somebody else his bib to run with. So the winner is being called by his name, but is actually not the person who ran. That's just a different way of fraud, honestly.
Absolutely.
And so he takes home the prize money, they ask him for his ID, they realize he's not the person who's actually registered to it, and they both admit. I think that should be a criminal offense. That's in the Lewa Marathon. Okay. The other thing that did not work, or that worked for me, let me talk about what worked for me, is the Kenya Beach Games is going on, and the team is doing very well there. And also the fact that there is a Belgian shot putter and hammer thrower champion. Her team was on the verge of being disqualified if they don't run the hurdles, because both hurdlers were hurt.
Were injured, yes.
She decided to run.
Yes.
She posted some very appalling times.
I can only
they
imagine.
didn't get disqualified at least.
No.
She saved the
And
country.
she had to
last
take
week.
her time because she had to
Yes,
stop, look
exactly.
at the hurdle, and then jump it over. You know, it was almost a spectacle.
know.
And I think that, to me, is the spirit of
Of
sportsmanship.
sportsmanship.
Absolutely.
That is sports. That's what sports is
That's
all
what
about.
sport is all about.
Yes,
Okay, I thought you
yes.
wouldn't think
It's
about
not
it.
about winning.
What?
It's not about
Wiseman
winning.
Were as well registered a new Kenyan record in the 400 meters hurdles. He's actually posting times for the World Championships in Budapest. That's the story. Let's move on now to the main things that we have to talk about. Like I said, you can join us at Bernard_sports, at Kenny Chege_sports, at Wilfred Bungei, and tell us, you know, what's your word for Gor Mahia, who are the champions of the Kenyan Premier League? Let's get into the action now. The Safari Rally. Now, that was the talk of town for the whole of last week. Nothing else was being talked about. It was Vasha, it was about the cars, it was about the electric cars, it was about the dust, it was about everything else. None other than the president himself got a ride in that vehicle. I don't think he'll ever get into that vehicle again. But all the same, we had a focus here on who's going to win. You said Otanak was going to win. You said Ogier, you said.
Exactly.
Yes.
Sébastien Ogier.
And nobody was thinking about Rovanpera. But it happened. So who won ultimately?
Sébastien Ogier was the winner. A remarkable win, I must say. First time that there's been such head-to-head, you know, between two rally drivers from the same
same team. Yeah, same team. Okay.
And you know, and the gap kept on narrowing and narrowing. Then he had all this adversity to fight against. First of all was the fesh.
What's fesh?
Is that fine dust?
Okay.
That fine dust.
Why is it
got
called
into his
fesh?
engine. I don't know why it's called fesh. It's just called fesh. And then you know he broke the tail end of his vehicle, so there was a risk of dust getting.
You can't
in.
even complain.
And,
There's some people who almost broke the whole car. They had 43 minutes to fix it, and they fixed it. In fact, they went over by 1 second, and that's very important in terms of timing.
Yeah.
So Ogier, second time he's winning the Safari Rally. Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, Bernard, especially with this, if you remember last time, you know, I wish we had bet, you know, because I would be having some future
A lot
in
of
my
money.
pocket. Yeah, in my
you
pocket,
fear to
especially.
bet. You should have bet.
I should have, but I think something that is very interesting, especially for Sebastian, you know, if you look at the margin, you know, what surprised me when I look at the time difference
Between him and who?
Yeah, and
Rovanpera.
yes, exactly.
Second place, yeah.
It's 6.7
6.7
seconds.
Yes.
And you can imagine, I mean, that is really so close. You know, I mean, I was looking at that and I was like, this is almost like Formula One, you know, that you see.
Nose to nose or something like that.
Yeah, nose to nose. But I think for Sebastian, he was a defending champion. And I think he has proven that he's a very good driver, and especially when it comes to the kind of course that we have.
Let's break down this thing. You see those cars and the speeds they are moving at. Let's break it down. The total distance for this rally was 1,191 kilometers. Okay? Now let's break it down. If you go to Mombasa, it's 580 kilometers. Okay? You come back, then you'd have made 1,160 kilometers. It's almost the same, eh?
Yes.
Plus another 30 kilometers. So say then you go to Kitengela or the neighborhood, eh?
Yes.
So these guys have done that distance of going to Mombasa and back and going to Kitengela in 3 hours.
Actually, 3 hours, 30 minutes. And 42
And
seconds.
42 seconds.
And when you try to imagine 1,000 meters, you know, for one person, you know, to go with that, to go with 3 hours, it means it's
A plane takes 2 hours.
Yeah, a plane
So
takes
they
2
are
hours.
moving at the speed of a small plane.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you consider the terrain at which they are moving those speeds, you know,
yes.
for us
The
here,
fresh you're talking about.
Then you find this fresh. I mean, this guy, his front bumper, at some point was literally under the dust.
Yes,
Because
correct.
you know, it was, and the dust is getting into the radiator. Is now then of course the breathers don't work, so his engine started overheating. I mean,
Sometimes they're flying through everything else. These
Yeah.
guys, they're flying through. And I think it was the super special stages that were also very interesting for the fans as well. But this is quite a remarkable feat. Now, 6.7 seconds is just the difference that they had between the winner and the second place, Rovanpera. But really, a big kudos to these drivers. These are professionals. You know, the other thing they were talking about is how special this rally is, because it's still the real rally remaining in the world. They say is you don't know what you're going to find in the turn.
Yes, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You suddenly take the turn and a zebra is looking at you and wondering why you're disturbing the peace.
Or you find a rock.
Or you find a rock. Actually, Sebastian, you know, himself, he said that, you know, at a certain point, you know, his windshield was smashed by a rock. Because if you look at the terrain, Bernard and Ken, even when we were watching way before, you would realize that, you know, this terrain is really very much challenging. Because the moment you can imagine, if you go off the road, how are you going to get in and you have rocks on both sides?
Coming back to the road.
Great, but we must give kudos also to their, you know, co-drivers, because those are the people who actually make or break the driver in terms of the instructions they are giving. A fast left, a hairpin bend, fast right, you know, flat out, and all those instructions they give. It really requires a lot of coordination. Congratulations to Sébastien Ogier, and congratulations to Kale Rovanpera as well. We move on to our second story now. Who would have imagined that in the Safari Rally you can also get disqualified? Yes, that's what happened. And this man called Thierry Nouvel was actually disqualified from the Safari Rally. Guess what he did? He had another driver go onto the circuit after the Reconnaissance Rally, which is the Recce Rally, like you go and look at the route. He had another driver go in there and identify what he called concerns for him. Now, that is the equivalent of doping, isn't it?
And you know, and FIA are very strict and very clear. In fact, they have an whole article dedicated to that. It is article 35.4.2, you know, and it says that, allow me to read, after the publication of the supplementary regulations, only with the express authorization of the clerk of the course and the FIA Rally Department may any person connected with an entered crew travel on or over the route of a special stage of the rally, except on foot. This rule shall apply until that special stage is terminated, open for public traffic, and will no longer be used.
Let's just simplify this. What does it simply mean?
It's illegal.
It is illegal, Bernard, but I think
it's legal. Let's simplify the rule first.
I want to make
the rule just says that you cannot go over the distance of the rally in the super special stages again after the Reconnaissance Rally, unless on foot. But he had somebody drive on it. Yes.
Yeah, I think on my part, I look at it in terms of Thierry Nouvel, that he admitted. You see, that is a sportsman.
He admitted,
he did admit that. I think that is my biggest take on this, Bernard, when I heard him, you know, saying that, yes, I admit that this was a mistake, and therefore, of course, I mean, he was disqualified. But the most important thing, how many people make mistakes, Bernard?
No.
And tomorrow, you know, they will go
we
say...
agree. We agree that people make mistakes. Just a moment, Ken. We agree that people make mistakes. When you are found doping, what happens?
Most of the time, I mean, somebody will
you
say,
are
I
punished.
want B sample.
No. Assuming A and B samples are already positive, you will be sanctioned, you will be banned. Correct?
Yes.
The guy who used somebody else to win the Lewa Safari Marathon will be banned. This is the rally. You've gone against the rules. He should be banned. What is it about making mistakes? He shouldn't make mistakes. This is Formula 1. This is, rallying.
This is international. And look, Bernard, even how the guy got caught is because somebody on that private property reported seeing these people in two different locations doing the same thing, you know, over 2 different days.
You know what he did?
If he didn't make a mistake,
why do you think he did that? It was to identify concerns, what he calls concerns. The same things we're talking about, rocks.
Yes.
You know, somebody had the windscreen smashed by rocks, but you want to have it easy and avoid that rock. That's the same as doping.
So why do you want to have a due advantage?
Yes. The concerns, you know, somebody identified the concerns for him. Here, it's slippery, so when you come, don't go to that. You're having an undue advantage over the other drivers.
Absolutely, because when you talk about the co-driver, you know, who is supposed to be guiding you and all these things, what kind of work would you have now if already they have identified where the mistakes are?
I think it was merited, and plus it's a flouting of the rules. So the man was disqualified. He lost his 8th position on the podium. So that means all the other drivers moved up, including Solberg, who moved up a notch because of that. That is crazy. We didn't expect that to happen in the rally. It did happen in the rally. Let's move on now. Toyota Gazoo team. That's what we need to know about the Toyota Gazoo team. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that in steeplechase, the Kenyans used to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes up to 8. But we didn't know it happens in rallying as well, Captain.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because when you look at Toyota being able to win number 1 to number 4. Okay, first and foremost, we have got to give this to the engineers.
Got to give credit to the team.
To the team, to the entire team.
It's a lot that happened.
And of course, it tells you that Toyotas could be one of the best, but of course, you can have the best car, but without a very good driver, that becomes a problem. Now, what I'm looking at here, Bernard, it means that the Toyota team has made sure that they have the best drivers, so that at the end of the day, they are able to earn all the maxes that they are able to earn on the World Rally Championships.
Well, they're putting a very good case for themselves as manufacturers, aren't they, Ken?
Yes, Bernard, Toyota is a car that has a very, very, very strong works team. Not just the drivers. One, they ensure they get the best drivers. But two, the way they have made their vehicles to be able to withstand these conditions, rough conditions. You could see what was happening when the dust was getting into the engines. The cars were overheating, but still they were still able to move. And they were able to move until the finish line. They never quite stopped. I think that's
okay. I'm not privy
to
what exactly made those cars win, but I'm just saying that's a good team. I'm not sure if it's what you're talking about is exactly what it took to win. But I just know that they had Sébastien Ogier as the winner, Kyle Rovampera in second position with Elfin Evans, 3 hours 33.41, and Takamoto Katsuta in the fourth position. So that was quite remarkable for the Toyota Gazoo team. And it's congratulations to them, hoping that the other teams will work hard enough to be able to get themselves back into this competition in the proper way. Then again, there was the jam from Varsha. Some people slept on the route, but I didn't think they minded it, so it's all good. It's not a story. It's come to be expected. Next time, don't go to come back just after the rally. Spend another night in Varsha. Come the day after the rally. Maybe there'll be less traffic. Of course, there was an accident earlier on as well, which blocked the routes, but it was cleared. Helicopters having to come to pick up the injured, and we hope that they get well soon. We're moving on to another story. It's Gorbiro. You know those chants of Gorbiro.